The cryptocurrency market saw one of the most violent liquidation events it has ever seen in the history of the price action. In today's video, we are discussing the recent short-term reversal, whether or not this has what it takes to result in a macro continuation upwards, the key short-term and high time frame levels you should be paying attention to, and the altcoin market. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency market had just seen the single largest 24-hour period of liquidations we have ever seen in the history of cryptocurrency, totaling more liquidations than both the COVID correction and the FTX collapse. In today's video, we are discussing the aftermath of this correction, whether or not the markets are still poised for a position toward the upside, how the altcoin market is developing after this major drawdown, and where Bitcoin is likely to move to next on the short term and the high time frame charts. Before we delve into it, go ahead and smash the like button, hit the comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you are interested in, join us on Telegram. This is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop with cryptocurrency, with Bitcoin, and the relevant economic news. And if you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, join us on VIP, clicking the pinned comment in the free channel, click my name to contact me, or the two links below, the first link being a 50+ month trading track record, and the second link being a 10-minute video showing you inside the channel. We post trading setups with exact entry prices, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. Look at all these profits we are printing as a consequence of this massive rally over the past 24 hours. We also have our group chats, our general chat, our trading chart and education chat, our daily video help and news chat. Again, over 700 members. Check it out, join up, we'll see you in there, and let's dive on in. So Bitcoin, of course, and the altcoin market, well, basically the entire cryptocurrency market saw a massive correction. We saw here on the total market cap dropping from around 3.3 trillion all the way down to 2.8 trillion, retesting that 2021 high point. Now, the good thing is that we are able to bounce from this region, indicating an area of demand, and of course, facilitating this region to sustain as support. Our bearish validation for the entirety of cryptocurrency is and will still be a loss of this prior 2021 high point, meaning while we've sustained above this region, the future is potentially still bright for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But if we are able to drop below here and we close candles underneath, that would mark this entire move as deviation from the range, and a potential higher time frame correction could develop. So we were able to postpone a potential correction over the past 24 hours with what was a fantastic bounce for Bitcoin directly from that critical level of support from 92,000 to 88,000, that lower point of liquidity, resulting in a bounce back above 100,000. So absolutely insane moves over the past 24 hours, and we'll dive into it in the short-term analysis today. Moving over to our liquidation data, we can see over the past 24 hours, it is still very high, up 61% at a total of $1.72 billion in liquidations, and one individual liquidation at around 38 million. So that was you. I hope your day today turns for the better, because that's absolutely shocking. Anyway, 24-hour liquidations, very high. 24-hour volume, very high as well. 559 billion, up 82%. The DXY, let's take a look. We have seen a rejection here for the DXY from the prior high. This is going to be positioning itself for a potential reversal now. Of course, we saw a failure to sustain above the prior high, indicating potential reversals developing. We are now watching for corrections back towards this level of support, which could be relatively good for the risk asset market on the short term. Again, this range here is now our current range. A break above this range, expect higher. A break below the range, we are looking for large corrections towards that midline point of the broader channel. Moving over to the S&P 500, again, not too much happening. We can still see a lot of chop occurring around these prior weekly high levels. We are still watching for that RSI. We are still watching for a positive momentum shift. And when that RSI is breaking above this trend line, that is when we are going to say, okay, we are bullish on the S&P 500 again. We are watching for continuations higher. Until that occurs, we are waiting patiently. Let's talk about what we are discussing. We are going over the total market cap. We are going over the altcoin market cap because we saw an absolutely crazy drop here on the altcoin market cap, dropping around about nearly 200 billion, if not 250 billion over the course of about a 3-day period. Again, the total altcoin market cap was able to sustain above this yearly resistance. A fantastic bouncing point, a level that we'll need to sustain, but we'll come back and discuss that in the video today. Of course, we're going over the short term and the higher time frame charts. So before we get into all of that, make sure to go ahead and sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX with the exchange links in the pinned comment. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15 to 45% of all your trading fees. You'll support yourself in your trading journey and you'll support me making the content. Go ahead and do it, and we'll see you back in the video just in a second. If you are looking for a new exchange or just want to support the channel, sign up to BitUnix with the link down below. You'll get a lifetime trading fee discount of 15%, which can build up to 45% based on your trading volume, as well as access to a bonus reward center, and of course, all of the exclusive campaigns we run on this exchange. You'll also get access to BitUnix being a non-KYC exchange, meaning you can sign up from anywhere in the globe without regulations. And most importantly, I only promote exchanges I trust and I use. As you can see, I trade on BitUnix very regularly, being the highest VIP level with over $500 million in trading volume for the last 30 days. And lastly, if you were interested in signing up to our other two exchanges, BingX or BitGet, you can also do that via the links down below. You as well will get the 15% trading fee discount and everything else that comes with it. Go ahead and sign up. Thank you for supporting. Let's jump back in. Okay, legends, let's go ahead and jump back into the video, and we are starting on the higher time frame discussing Bitcoin and then breaking it down to the smaller time frame and then finally the altcoin market. So first and foremost, as we can see, guys, the weekly range for Bitcoin is still very much intact, and we've said already there are 3 levels we are watching here in terms of if we're defining what we would expect the price action to do between these levels. We have got our neutral range, we have got our bearish range, and we have got our bullish range. The neutral range is simply going to be the weekly closes that occur between our 2 solid horizontal black lines. This is going to represent our weekly high and our weekly low. A weekly breakout of our weekly high would result in a continuation into the daily high represented by the red line, whereas a weekly breakdown of the black weekly low would result in a weekly continuation towards our daily low at the lowermost red line. Until we break the weekly range, we are going to continue to chop sideways within this range, printing large liquidity wicks on either the upper and lower end. That means no matter what happens to Bitcoin within this range, it is not going to be resulting in higher time frame directional continuations. We need to see the range break to be confident in these directional continuations, and therefore we should classify these moves as simply just volatility and chop. If we take a look at the daily range, we can see the daily range represented by the lowermost red line and the uppermost red line is a very large range. This is about a 20% depth channel over here, which has been developing since the 17th of November. So we're looking at nearly 2.5 months now at a 20% depth. This consolidation is beginning to drag on pretty long now and is building up a whole bunch of liquidity, as we can see represented on that VRPV range. Now, as we have seen historically, breakouts of horizontal consolidations on the daily chart, such as the horizontal consolidation right over here, often leads to very violent continuations in the direction of which the channel breaks. That is because while the price action consolidates, it builds up a significant portion of liquidity within inside the channel, and when we break these ranges, we enter these low historical resistance ranges, simply a range of horizontal price action, okay, measured based on a horizontal level from the VRPV, which the volume requirements or the price action to move from the price point to price point B is decreasing. I'll show you an example. If we take a look at the volume requirements for the price action to move from 89,000 down to 76,000, that is decreasing. Our historical volume levels or our historical orders based on our VRPV over here suggest orders of historical volume which are lower than orders of historical volume within our consolidation range. This means if we move through this level of support, okay, we would assume we would have bearish momentum. We will be entering a range where the price action will require less volume to move downward than what we saw within the consolidation. That often results in massive bursts of volatility in the direction of which the price action moves. So if we want to say we are confident in seeing a directional high time frame continuation downwards, if we want to say we are confident we're going to see the entire market collapse for multiple weeks or months, we need to still drop below this level. Until then, we are in this consolidation. Now, the altcoin market's a different story. We'll come back to it. But in terms of Bitcoin, while we sustain in this consolidation, the expectation is that we will eventually see a continuation upwards. The reason we say that is when we move into a horizontal consolidation, the direction of which we move in is generally the direction we move out. Okay, so we're taking a measured move now of the horizontal consolidation from the depth, applying it to the breakout point. The bullish target would be around $120,000 and the bearish target would be around $70,000. So those are going to be our two macro targets. Let's talk about the bearish scenario on the weekly first. As we mentioned in our prior video, the weekly RSI is going to be an absolutely fantastic tool in determining whether or not we are going to see weekly corrections. Specifically, the 62.09 point on the RSI, you can see we actually managed to defend this region over here, even on this massive correction. If we look historically at the 62.09 on the RSI, we can see historically, we generally see massive pullbacks. And for some reason, this chart isn't loading. We'll go back to it over here. Here we go. Massive corrections every single time we drop below the 62.09 on the RSI. And I've gone ahead and marked out 4 different occasions over here. 55%, 78%, 10%, and 24% corrections as a consequence of the 62.09 being lost. Now, if we do lose the weekly range low, as we discussed, that being around 93,000, the probability of us dropping below the weekly RSI increases, and we know that if we drop below that region, we will likely see a double-digit correction, which will very likely push the total market cap underneath the 2021 high, resulting in what we would call the top of this move or the beginning of a higher time frame reversal. That is bearish. So until that happens, we are cautiously optimistic for Bitcoin, meaning we are not exactly and directly expecting immediate continuations upwards, and we are not positioned for that. We are still sitting in cash, but we are optimistic for the future of Bitcoin to continue toward the upside eventually, provided these lows are able to sustain. So let's move over to the short-term price action. This is going to be the short-term chart. You can see a violent correction towards that 92,000 support, followed by an explosive rally. Now, if we look at our channel over here, just in our VIP channel, you can see many altcoin longs were taking it. 20% profit, 21% profit. These are all spot. 31% profit, 15% profit, simply because when we see mass liquidations in a singular direction, generally we see something called mean reversion, where the price action will reverse in the equal and opposite direction with a relatively the same amount of volatility. So we see that massive liquidity grab toward the downside, followed by a massive rally toward the upside, liquidating a whole bunch of late shorts and then building up liquidity again. So we saw a massive reversal in the price action, but this doesn't necessarily mean the price action will sustain toward the upside. We need to watch our momentum. So again, on the 4 hour, we have got our our downtrend here on the RSI. We are watching this 4-hourly downtrend on the RSI, as well as watching the downtrend on the price chart over here. We've got this resistance trend line spanning through the prior tops. We would need to see the RSI break and this downtrend break to be confident in continuations, which could take us back to these 108 to 110,000 highs. Until then, we are approaching this 102.5k resistance, where we could see short-term pullbacks for both the altcoin market, we'll discuss in a second, and for Bitcoin as we approach resistance, particularly after what was a massive rally. This is 12-13%. So personally, I am taking profits on the positions I took at these immediate lows. I am scaling out of my positions and I'm taking those profits, because I can always re-enter again when the time is right and when we get confirmation. Remember, confirmation is the insurance you pay to be correct. That is it. Confirmation is the insurance you pay to be correct. It is okay to forfeit a few percent or a few $1,000 profit if that increases the probability of success tenfold. And that is the way I personally trade. That is the way I see it. So that is what I'm doing. Of course, do what you need to do. This isn't financial advice. You should trade your positions how you deem fit. I'm personally just saying what I am personally doing. I've taken my positions. I'm now taking some profit. Not all of it, but I'm taking a decent amount of profit at these levels. Let's move into the altcoin market, guys. So quick summary for Bitcoin. Massive correction. Bitcoin, although we see a lot of volatility, hasn't been hit too hard. All the key horizontal levels are sustaining, whether that be on the weekly and the daily. The key technical levels, which should validate stronger downtrends, have not been met yet. So we are still in this area of neutrality, consolidation, and indecision moving into the future. Again, moving over to altcoins now, we can see the altcoin market has done a few things. Now, I want to zoom out first and foremost and show you the most important level. And this is going to be the most important level, this gray box. And we can actually drag it down just a little bit more to reach 840. This $840 billion level is the most important level, which we'll need to sustain on the weekly. Now, this chart here reminds me a hell of a lot of Bitcoin. If you remember this and just watch this level here, if we go to a Bitcoin chart on the weekly, we have got a very similar scenario over here. We've got that high point, we've got that dead cat bounce high, okay? What did we see? We saw a correction pretty much right into that level over here before we saw continuation. Now, I'm not saying that is going to happen to altcoins, but we are seeing a similar kind of structure developing here for the altcoin market. So looking at this over here, provided we can sustain above this region on the weekly, it is likely altcoins will continue. However, if we zoom into the smaller time frame, let's go to a 4-hour, actually let's go to a daily chart over here. We can see that the trend line of which we broke down from, which resulted in this large correction, we are now retesting. So this could be a short-term exit point for altcoins where you'd be considering to take some profits, as this rejection could result in the price action moving back into these lows over here and wiping out all of that liquidity that we have been building up. Now, for altcoins to be bullish again, I'd be really watching for this downtrend to break. Remember, just because we see a massive correction and then we see, 80% of that correction being eaten up, doesn't necessarily mean altcoins are bullish on the higher time frame. In fact, it doesn't really change anything. It just means the price action has moved down and then move back on the short term. This is volatility. This is liquidity grabs. So we can't look at this and let it blind us into thinking that just because we have seen a strong short-term bounce of altcoins, that the higher time frame charts have somehow changed, or the probability of a change. The facts are it hasn't. We still need to see a break of this downtrend. So we're watching this downtrending diagonal trend line. Breaking that, we'll be confident in altcoins. And most importantly, we are watching that 3.13 trillion level, where if we do break, I believe that will be the strongest and best entry point for altcoins to continue parabolic. Until then, cautiously optimistic. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Have a fantastic day. Catch you guys on Thursday for our next video. See you then.